Hello, good afternoon and welcome to Midday Live from here in Accra. My name is Bright Nana Amfo, and of course from now till 1 p.m. we'll tell you what's happening in Ghana and beyond the borders. First, look at our top stories. 50% of funds earmarked for implementation of the free senior high school policy to hit accounts of schools across the country today. We'll also tell you that the staff of the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission have called off their protest against management. And also coming up, National Labour Commission rules that a new teacher union group could be formed. We'll tell you more about that story. And when we hit the international front, protest on streets of Lome. We're told entering day 3 as opposition pushes for Nasingbe to step down. Of course, these and many more are what we have compiled for you from now to 1 p.m. Join the conversation. Our social media platforms well activated. Be part of the show from now. Thanks so much for staying there for us. In our first story this afternoon, the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea will deliver judgment in the maritime boundary dispute between Ghana and Ivory Coast on September 23. The two countries have laid claim to the disputed boundary in the Atlantic Ocean and are both calling on the special chamber to deliver judgment in their favor. Côte d'Ivoire is praying the tribunal to declare that Ghana had moved into its maritime boundary, but Ghana, on the other hand, led by the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Gloria Akufu, has requested the tribunal to reject Côte d'Ivoire's claims and maintain the status quo, which had been respected by both countries for more than 4 decades. In February 2015, Côte d'Ivoire submitted a request for the prescription of provisional measures under Article 290, Paragraph 1 of the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, requesting the Chamber to order that Ghana shall inter alia take all steps to suspend all oil exploration and exploitation operations underway in the disputed area. And of course, a ruling expected on September 23. Exactly what does it mean for us? My guest is an energy expert. He talks a lot about energy. Could you once again? It's good afternoon, sorry, for your time.
How are you?
Grateful. Now, let's start from here. What does it mean for us if it should go against us?
Well, if it goes against us, which we touch wood, it doesn't. It's going to cause a lot of problems because there are like 4 blocks that are affected. There is the Carmack block, which is the oil find, the gas find that was done some years ago. There's the Jubilee Field, which Tulu operates. There is AGM, which is a block which is below the Hess. And there's also the Hess block, where they have a lot of developed discoveries. Now, what we are hoping is that even if it goes against us, the existing development that we have done as a country, Ghana, they will not give it to the Ivorians. They will let us keep it, and the future development that we do, then they might ask them to join in.
But is that what the law says, or perhaps
that's why it's an arbitration. There isn't a law. I mean, international law of arbitration, there isn't a law. It's just the arbitrators to sit there and say, look, are these your waters? If it is your waters, then somebody has encroached in your waters to do a development. And you see, the problem is this. The Ivorians saw us do these developments. Look, we've had ships. This exploration work is done by huge ships that does the seismic and the drilling. They saw all these ships in there drilling the Tulu well for the Jubilee one and all the other wells that we've drilled. They didn't say anything. They saw the seismic being done for the Hess block. They saw the seismic being done for the Carmack block. They didn't say anything. Now, all of a sudden, they've come to lay claim to this area.
So how well can we use that in this arbitration process that they saw us doing, and yet they did not see anything? So because of that, Please let us continue, but in future developments.
The Attorney General, both past and present Attorney General, made a very good case to the Court of Arbitration. You see, one of the problems we've had as a country is that the lack of naval ships. Look, if we've had naval ships patrolling those waters years and years and years ago, the Ivorians couldn't all of a sudden come and say that the waters are theirs. Because we've never patrolled those waters, you know, the only thing we've done is explored in those waters. Clearly, if you look at the map and look at where the existing boundary is and where they intend to shift the boundary to, they are really wanting to eat into our hydrocarbon reserves. Because if it is granted to them, the most part of the Tulu block, which is where the Jubilee field is, goes to them. Most part of the Hess block, might be 1/3 of the Hess block, goes to them. Part of the AGM block goes to them. A bit of Carmack goes to them. But I'm saying that if it is, even if, I don't think that the present development that we've done will be given to them. I'm hoping that it doesn't go to them, but if it does, then future development, we might be asked to do it in conjunction with Ivory.
With Ivory Coast. Before we talk about perhaps how much, or a rough estimate of what we have sunk in as a country. Now, do you see, for instance, the issues raised by the former AG and the current one during the process as indeed what can win us the kind of arbitration or the kind of results we're looking for?
Yes, because it's billions of dollars. And I mean, we have sunk in billions of dollars. Amada Hess Petroleum has been here as far back as probably 2006. And they've sunk a lot of wells into their block. And they recently made some very good discoveries. And they have been on this block since 2006. So imagine that all this time when they are there, they have vessels on the sea drilling, finding nothing and going ahead and drilling. So we have spent billions and billions of dollars between the four companies, Carmack, Tulu, Hess, and AGM. We are talking about anything over $2 billion. So it is not likely that the court of arbitration will say that, oh, out of nowhere, the Ivorians can come in and they can lay claim to something they clearly saw happen and they never said anything.
But if that is the case, you think that if they are sure, the Ivorians are sure that indeed Ghana has done some infrastructure, and so if going in won't get us what we want, would they have gone in at all?
No, to them it's a win-win situation. What do they have to lose? Because at the end of the day, look, they realize that, look, they have hydrocarbon, but at the pace at which Ghana is going, we will overtake Ivory Coast in terms of hydrocarbon. So to them it's a win-win. What do they have to lose? Let's lay a claim to it. If we win, then hey, we can now develop in partnership with Ghana. There is a similar thing that happened in Sao Tome between the Ivory, the Nigeria and Cameroon, where there were disputed areas, and in some areas, Cameroon and Nigeria do a joint development in the Sao Tome area. So there is precedent on it that in cases where it's disputed, some is given to Sao Tome, some is given to Cameroon, or the Bakassi, we all know about the Bakassi area, where it's been disputed with Nigerians for some time. So they have nothing to lose. What they get to gain is that if they are lucky and the court rules in their favor, they get to now enjoy some of the hydrocarbons that we have discovered.
I see, and that's perhaps what they will be looking for. Could you give me a minute? Let me quickly get onto Skype and speak to the chief executive of KIDE, Ismail Ejikume. He's just joined the conversation. Ismail, good afternoon. All right, Ismail Ejikume, we're trying to reach him via Skype to join the conversation, but 23rd September, that's when the ruling is expected, and some have suggested that Ghana might not lose out entirely, and that since we have infrastructure there, the worst could be being told that, hey, Ivory Coast should come in when there are future developments and not for them to take over the whole thing. And so the country in an expectant mood, expecting the ruling to go, or the arbitration to go in our favor come 23rd September. Ismail Ejikume has just joined us via Skype. Ismail, grateful for your time this afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Let's start from Ismail. Now, the concerns, or what some are expressing, is that the arbitration might not take the infrastructure we have put there and say, Ivory Coast, take it. But Ivory Coast will be told that, well, in future when there is more development, you can come in and be part of the whole development. Perhaps is that what you are expecting from the arbitration?
Well, I honestly don't want to preempt what they're going to rule on and how the ruling is going to look like. But what I understand is that, I mean, in the unlikely event, I'm saying unlikely event because I do expect that we're going to win. But if we do not win, it means we don't have any rights. So what I see is that we're going to have the infrastructure, obviously. Okay, for the partners, they will have to then go and negotiate agreements with Cote d'Ivoire, but Ghana will lose our side of the investment, and then not lose our side of it. We will have to be compensated for whatever money we put in there. We'll have to be compensated for, because, I mean, if you sit over your rights for some time and somebody gets a right over your rights, sometimes you can't come back. I'm not a lawyer, but I know there's something they call the law of easements and also some of those things. So basically, I'm thinking that even if it doesn't go our way, we wouldn't lose whatever money we have sunk in the project, but we're not going to make a benefit in the future. But whatever we have put in the project, we're not going to lose. The same for the partners.
I see, but you do not want to preempt the ruling, but looking at the fact that Ghana has sunk so much into it, or the companies that have sunk so much into it on behalf of Ghana, you think that perhaps the arguments that have been put in by the Attorney General, the current one and the former Attorney General, is what perhaps can get Ghana to win the arbitration?
I think we have a very, very solid case, and I honestly think we have a very, very solid case, especially given that Cote d'Ivoire, they have been aware of this demarcation for a very, very, very long time. I think they are just exercising bad faith, and they just decided to test the waters. I think we have a solid case, and I listened into some of the hearings and also the submissions. And if you look at the counter arguments being advanced by Cote d'Ivoire, I think we have a solid case. But hey, you never know what could happen. I'm honestly praying that we win the case. But even if we do not win the case, I don't believe that the ruling will say that you're losing your investments that you've made. I mean, we may not have a 10% carried or 15% carried interest because we would then cease to be the owners of the resource because it wouldn't be in our jurisdiction. But I think, in fairness, whatever monies we've sunk in that project, we're going to be able to recover that. I believe so.
Ismail, I'm grateful for your time. Ismail Ejikumihene is the Chief Executive of Kite. They're talking to me about the ruling expected on 23rd September. Let's wrap up. Okay. You're not saying, or you want to react to what
Ismail said?
That he said
quickly. Yes, quickly. You know, in common law, there's something called a third-party interest accruing.
Right.
Okay, if you have a property, a land lying there, and somebody comes on there and build, though the land is yours, and you let the person erect an infrastructure, and you take it to court, the judge will tell you that in common law, a third-party interest has accrued. Okay. You cannot just go and bulldoze the land and bulldoze the...
Is that similar to what we see here? When the structure is up to the lintel level, we're told that you can't...
Yes, because third-party interest has accrued. So it's difficult for us to see that the development that we have done, and we've been, since 2011, been in production of crude, it will be difficult how the court will rule that Ghana should come off being that we developed it. So even as I said, the worst possible scenario will be that existing infrastructure, we get to benefit, but the future infrastructure, we have to do it in partnership.
You're not saying this because you're a Ghanaian?
Oh, no. I hope it doesn't go their way. But, I mean, as a Ghanaian, we are all praying that it goes our way.
Kujo, I'm grateful for your time this afternoon.
Thank you very much.
Is an energy analyst, and I'll tell you very soon some issues that has to do with this particular law and the fact that Ghana had to go into that kind of litigation arbitration with the Ivorians. Now, let's look at some of the issues that sent Ghana to here. The international law of the Sea in September 2014. Now, that's when we went there under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. We were seeking a declaration that it has not encroached on Côte d'Ivoire's territory. Hello, good afternoon and welcome to Midday Live from here in Accra. My name is Bright Nana Amfo, and of course from now till 1 p.m. we'll tell you what's happening in Ghana and beyond the borders. First, a look at our top stories. 50% of funds earmarked for implementation of the free senior high school policy to hit accounts of schools across the country today. We'll also tell you that the staff of the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission have called off their protest against management. And also coming up, National Labour Commission rules that a new teacher union group could be formed. We'll tell you more about that story. And when we hit the international front, hello, good afternoon and welcome to Midday Live from here in Accra. My name is Bright Nana Amfo, and of course from now till 1 p.m. we'll tell you what's happening in Ghana and beyond the borders. First, a look at our top stories. 50% of funds earmarked for implementation of the free senior high school policy to hit accounts of schools across the country today. We'll also tell you that the staff of the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission have called off their protest against management. And also coming up, National Labour Commission rules that a new teacher union group could be formed. We'll tell you more about that story. And when we hit the international front, protest on streets of Lomé. We're told entering day 3 as the opposition pushes for Nasimbe to step down. Of course, these and many more are what we have compiled for you from now to 1 p.m. Join the conversation. Our social media platforms well activated. Be part of the show from now. Thanks so much for staying there for us. In our first story this afternoon, the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea will deliver judgment in the maritime boundary dispute between Ghana and Ivory Coast on September 23. The two countries have laid claim to the disputed boundary in the Atlantic Ocean and are both calling on the special chamber to deliver judgment in their favor. Côte d'Ivoire is praying the tribunal to declare that Ghana had moved into its maritime boundary, but Ghana, on the other hand, led by the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Gloria Akufu, has requested the tribunal to reject Côte d'Ivoire's claim. The group began a nationwide sit-down strike after insisting it will not allow a resigned director of a company, Nanaya Jantua, and the current executive secretary to stay in office. Catherine Frimpoma visited headquarters of the commission and we'll get you more on that later on. But for now, let's take a quick break. Midday Live continues right after this. All right, thanks so much and welcome back to Midday Live. The Public Utilities Regulatory Commission workers say they have called off their strike. The group began a nationwide sit-down strike after insisting it will not allow a resigned director of a company and the executive secretary from working. Catherine Frimpoma has been there and has this report.
It's day 2 of the supposed demonstration by the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission staff nationwide. Today we are here at the national headquarters at RICH in Accra to find out the situation so far. We are seeing that the door, which was under lock and key about the same time yesterday, has been opened. We are told staff already in working. How were they able to open the door? Because yesterday they told us that they were not the ones who locked the door and they did not know how to open it. Therefore, they stayed out the whole day without working. Today, the door is open. They are in working. We're going in to speak to them to find out how they were able to open the door. You said you didn't know who locked the door. So how were you able to open the door to come in today?
Yeah, we just got a tool to break it. Yeah, we break the lock, the chain, so that we could allow the driver to open the main door for them to have access. And that was yesterday.
So why didn't you do this yesterday in the morning and then you stayed out without working yesterday?
You see, if you have your staff taking an action, you have to seek their consent. You are a leader over people. You can't lord it over them. And that is the same thing they are fighting against. I don't want to find myself in that situation.
Was it a deliberate attempt not to work yesterday?
Oh, it wasn't a work. They were preventing an illegality. And as part of getting out, these are the things we have to do internally. We have written to the chief of staff. We don't know how powerful he is. Everybody in this building is gone except him. After the lockup today, we have resolved that positive defiance. He doesn't. Have you seen him around? How can a father abandon his home for good 2 days? And whether 1 week or 2 weeks, we will still look for him to have a discussions with him. And the discussions is that he has to make sure that he exits peacefully and let us move on as an organ. He can't hold the whole of PURC to ransom just because of him. Yes, we don't want the public to suffer because of one individual. And that's the reason why we are adopting a different strategy, positive defiance. He can't give anybody an order to do A, B, C, D. Already, he was selective in whatever he's doing. So if he gives somebody an order, the person can decide to obey or not obey.
Today, he's not in. It's almost 11. And he's not in, which is unusual.
As I said, I'm saying that sometimes he has meeting outside in the morning. It can be around 8 and yeah. But I haven't get in touch with him for today. Yes.
Okay, no, but I was just asking whether you were aware of he attending any meeting.
That's what I said, that in our diary for today we don't have any meeting. But if he has it, and I will not be notified, I will not know.
So you don't know why he's not here?
I know.
So this is the office of the Executive Secretary, Mr. Sapon. This is actually his office. We just spoke to his secretary. She has no idea why he's not here, and she's not today.
Catherine Frimpoma there from the offices of the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission. Now, we're told that Kumasi workers have also decided to call off their strike, and we'll get you more on that later on. Now, let's move to Tema, where freight forwarders on Thursday morning picketed at the long room of the Tema port over poor network and processes used for the paperless transaction. According to them, long delays as a result of the slow network will cause them to pay needless demurrage on uncleared goods, deflating or defeating the purpose of the project.
Activities came to a standstill as frustrated forwarders picketed over the delays in transactions. According to them, the process had rather deepened their woes. They lament, aside the delays with the feedback for the process, the network downtime is even worse. Prior to the rolling out of the paperless transaction, the authorities had promised backup plans, but these, according to the forwarders, had failed to work. They believe that these teething challenges, the intent of clearing goods within 4 days, would be impossible. Deputy Minister for Finance, Kweku Kwatin, reportedly calmed them down with a promise that their grievances would be addressed to make the process more friendlier for use.
And that was an amateur video from the Tema long room from the port. Meanwhile, shipping lines have resolved to give a concession on demurrage fees accrued by the shippers from Monday to Friday following the implementation of the paperless transaction, which had encountered some challenges with delays. Now, this follows a consultation between the Ghana Shippers Authority, the Ministry of Finance, and the shipping lines. Josephine Frimpong has the rest of the story.
We have entered into day 8 for the implementation of the paperless at the country's port. Already, freight forwarders have been complaining about issues of downtime, poor network, and other issues which relate to their work. Importer is very much concerned about demurrage. Demurrage since Monday, and today is Friday. Obviously, there will be some payment that needs to be made. What is the authority going to do about demurrage for the importers?
Right. So yesterday, Chief Executive and a section of our management, and I heard Deputy Minister of Finance, Honorable Kweku Kwarteng, they were in Tema to meet the Ship Owners and Agents Association of Ghana. You know, the shipping lines have agreed to do that. But they are going to look at cases, importers' cases on a case-by-case basis, so to speak. With regards to rents, the team met the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority and also made them know about the challenge that was on the ground. And we've been told that the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority has also agreed to giving porters some concession by way of rents. So these are the issues with regards to payments, incidental payments that have come as a result of the challenges in the system that the Ghana Shippers Authority has taken up with the stakeholders or the service providers, to make sure that the importers are not burdened with problems that they didn't create by themselves.
All institutions are firming up to ensure that the paperless actually comes to stay so that clearance can be done within 4 hours, which has been a directive of the Vice President. Josephine Frimpong reporting for TV3 News.
There is more from the port later on and on 3news.com. Now, shifting attention to the education sector, government has given assurance that funds for the commencement of the free senior high school policy will hit the account of the various schools today. The Deputy Minister in charge of tertiary education, Dr. Asiedu-Dartey, said the money will reach the various schools today. And this is to enable the headmasters and headmistresses welcome the students who are expected to report on Monday. My guest is Kojo Ode. He is Kojo Asiedu-Dartey, the Public Relations Officer of the Ghana Education Service, just joining me. Grateful for your time this afternoon. The money is sent to the school's account or into the Ministry of Education's account now?
No, there are protocols that are good. First of all, thank you, and thank you for inviting me for this important discussion. The money will come from the Ministry of Finance into the Ministry of Education coffers. Then it's from the ministry to the GS. The GS will forward it to the various respective accounts of all the 667 senior high schools, publicly owned senior high schools that we have in the country.
Okay.
Yes, you know, this is...
So there are three processes,
there are three
finance,
processes,
education, and schools. So it's about midday now. Yeah. Where is the money sitting now?
As the Deputy Minister of Finance said, Honorable Abena Osei said, it's hopeful that by the close of the day today, that is about 5 o'clock p.m., the money should be hitting the account of the various schools. So we can conclude that it is sitting in the Education Ministry's account now. For now, for sure. And the processes are... Exactly. It has been released from the Ministry's coffers. Ministry of Finance coffers into Ministry of Education coffers for now. This is 50% of it. Exactly. What happens thereafter? Exactly. No, the budget is 480 million Ghana cedis, thereabout, for the year, for the first year program. They just released more than 50% of it. It's 280 million Ghana cedis they have released. So it's about 50% plus of it. So this will be enough for the preliminary finances in catering for the first years who are going to enjoy perhaps the most exciting government of Ghana introduced policy free senior high school at the secondary school level, where a child will go to the school without paying a peswa. So everybody's excited about this, and let's all stakeholders, education, media, parents, students, let's all come
closely and monitor what's going to happen.
Yes, we want to ask questions, media ask questions. Have you received the money? How is the government going by its promise?
Will be released when?
Now, we have a system in the school.
Right.
Once a child is enrolled, it captures onto the senior high school secretariat that has been created, being headed by William Dakwa. He is the head, is the coordinator.
At the secretariat.
At the secretariat. We have the platform. So one is enrolled, it's reflected. So until your enrollment list that you have supplied to us is adjusted. So for instance, at Chimota, let's say you have given us 500. We are monitoring it. How many students have enrolled? We have enrolled 500 students. They are in the school now. Then release money goes into the Achimota's coffers.
Receives more money than number of students, what happens?
I don't think the system put in place by the secretariat and by the ministry, that will not happen.
We'll record anything like that.
There are a lot of verification teams that will go around. You want to go and look at the attendance in the classroom in the schools. So how many students are actually in the classroom? Not that they've been captured by the system, but are they actually there?
Okay.
Can we verify that student A, B, C, D are there?
Verified.
It's verified. We satisfy ourselves with it, then have your money. If you have a money too, there's going to be accounting or auditing processes. How have you spent the money according to your budget, according to your plan, and all that? So there will be no room for anybody to abuse any of the finances.
Finally, the headmasters are supposed to buy, or Bezos headmasters are supposed to buy from a particular market. Is that the situation?
Yeah, you know, the buffer market, in respect of the food.
The buffer stock.
The buffer stock. You know, the Ministry of Agriculture and in this policy of what, planting for food and what have you, we had a situation where farmers would say, oh, our food is ready or our produce are ready on the farms, yet nobody's buying. So the government is buying this from the farmlands. Then
and
it comes
by rule, that's where they have to buy from. Exactly. They can't go to any other market.
At all. It is to sustain this program. Once there's a market for a product, everybody's interested in going to the farming to get the farm produce onto our school system.
So the money hit the account today. Is buffer stock going to work between tomorrow and Sunday and Monday to get these schools food for the students?
Oh, you know, there's always a credit line that the schools go with. Sometimes you don't have money. You can give them about a month or
okay, so they can go order without paying.
They have been given the heads have been given all the assurance to go ahead with the normal thing that they have been doing. Just around this time, buy the food from the buffer stock to the school. So that we can sustain.
I am grateful for your time. That's what time would allow us. So Asiedu-Dartey is a public relations officer of the Ghana Education Service there, assuring greater access for reopening on Monday. We're grateful for your time. Now, let's hit what's happening in Togo. Anti-government protesters continue their protest in the Togolese capital, Lomé. They are protesting President Faure Gnassingbé in power since 2005 and are calling for a 2-term limit for heads of state. They have been demonstrating Wednesday and Thursday in an unprecedented scale. The internet, we're told, is still restricted. And Komla Kluche is reaching us from the border because the internet is restricted in Togo. Komla, if you can hear me, we can see you clearly here. Exactly paint the picture to us. What's happening in Togo and on the border where you are?
Okay, right. What I can say is that at the border, everything is calm. I mean, as you can see from the pictures, I'm just trying to move my MacBook around so you can see the border. You see the normal activity is fine here at the border. But right inside Togo, Lamakara, Ahoe, and the other ones, I can tell you that the situation is quite alarming. It's fluid. What we do understand is that just this morning, some people or some houses were raided by the soldiers. Now, from the video, I've just sent a video to the platform. I'm not too sure if we can play that on air now. But what we can say from the videos that we have gotten from our affiliates in the region, what we're getting is that they were raided this morning, and because some of them had gone beyond the protest and had were burning ties and stuff on the street. So the soldiers or the police have gone beyond to actually deal with this people. What they have done ostensibly is that apart from burning car ties and then blocking portions of the road, they have also had some scuffle with the gendarmerie. The reason why the soldiers have raided the houses. But I can tell you, Brian, at the border, you will not even find anything going on. It's within the capital that things are going on there. You would not even notice anything. It's just normal activity at all. I'm just going to turn the MacBook around so you can see that most of the people in here are just doing their normal activities around. You see, they're moving, their vehicles are going in. But you can also tell that a lot of people are trooping into Togo, which is quite fascinating, right? And you may not understand what that reason is, but you can understand as well that a lot of them also go in there to do trading and to a very large extent. But at the border again, right, I can tell you that security is beefed up in terms of the plainclothes national security and BNN officials who are here. Immigration is also doing a lot of checks in here. So from the Ghana side, everything is okay, but within, it's not as okay.
All right, Komla, I'm so grateful. Be safe there, you and your crew. We'll get back to you later on in other subsequent bulletins. Komla Kluche is there on the border with Togo. Protest is still going on there. We'll tell you more about that later on. This is Midday Live. It's now time for business. Welcome to Midday Live. The managing director of First Bank Brokerage, Edem Akpenyo, says it is too early to judge the appointment of Daniel Ogbami-Tete as the new Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission. He indicates, though stakeholders have legitimate concerns, the new Director General's appointment must be judged on how he handles the affairs of the commission.
The Securities and Exchange Commission has been without a board and a substantive Director General since last year, following the retirement of the former Director General Dr. Asiedu-Dartey. From the beginning of the year, there had been appeals from stakeholders in the sector for the President to constitute the board. It, however, took the President almost 8 months to do so. Banking and investment consultant Dr. Kwesi Atuahine says government may be taking its time to select the right people for the board.
Board appointing people to governing councils and board. It is something that Ghana takes it for a joke. But I'm telling you, not everybody should serve even on these boards. You need to have the right caliber of board members who understand what goes in SEC so that you point. So for me, it's taking long, but it is better to do it the right way, so that you don't put square pegs in round holes, which we have been doing in this country. If they have only chosen a competent people who understand the security and exchange, the acts and how it applies, and the allies.
There are also concerns by stakeholders about the appointment of Daniel Ogbami-Tete as the new Director General of the Commission, which they attribute to his relationship with the Minister of Finance and his former post as Executive Director and Head of Data Bank Asset Management Services Limited.
People are entitled to those kind of fears, but I think that with a man of his competence, he would be able to do what he has to do to ensure that the industry grows. The way he will handle the commission would probably allay those fears or confirm those fears, if I should say it.
Other concern raised is the termination of the appointment of the two Deputy Director Generals, Alexander Williams and Lawrence Yuenchi-Buafo.
That may not be too good for institutional memory, but I think that there are still senior executives at SEC who are still at post who may help to bridge that gap in the institutional memory thing.
Now, another news this afternoon, banks are now making use of ATMs in receiving cash, but will you prefer to give your cash to a human being or an ATM? Solis Rose Corti has more.
In the advent of technology and internet boom over the last decade, banks all over the world have jumped onto the bandwagon for promoting the agenda of digitizing and the automation of banking services. EcoBank Ghana laid off 181 outsourced staff for this reason. Now we're asking, are Ghanaians ready or comfortable allowing machines to deal with their hard-earned cash? What do you think?
You know, Ghana is not that advanced in terms of technology. So if I go to the machine to deposit my money and then later on I go to the bank and the term is not reflecting, who am I going to ask? And when you go to the bank that they should refund your money, or it's a hell. So for me, I would rather go to the bank, make sure I deposited the money in the account and get my receipt rather than going to the machine or the ATM.
I would prefer using the ATM machine to going directly to the teller, because with the ATM it is more convenient, it is faster. My only challenge was the last time I tried using the ATM, to deposit. Out of the total amount, it rejected some of the cash. So there you couldn't get anyone to interact with. Apparently the monies were not fixed, but it rejected it. So these are a few minor hitches that may come with the teller machine, but I think put all together, the teller machine will serve good interest than going to a banking hall.
It's okay, but then right now what they are doing is not acceptable. So for me, I would think that they should keep doing what they used to do, going to the bank and then accepting your money. Yes, I think that's okay.
I think the machine is good. It's more convenient than you getting into the hall to deposit money.
Depositing money, they definitely have to use the counter, because the machine, I don't think it can able to give you the correct this thing that you need. Yeah, but with the human being, he can tell you that this or that. And if there is any mistake, the human being can tell you, but the machine cannot tell you.
I think the machine system is going to do us good because of queuing at the bank. It's more convenient, and then you're able to watch out for security reasons. So I think the machine system is going to do us a lot of good going forward.
And of course, I'll still go for the ATM. That's it for business. We're taking a break. When we come back, we'll tell you what's happening in the world of sports. Stay with us.
Well, welcome to the sports segment here on Midday Live. My name is Yao Fosulabi. Let's go on to our first story now. The Ghanaian refereeing community has come under renewed attack after World Football Governing Body FIFA confirmed a lifetime ban for Joseph Lamte for manipulating a 2018 World Cup qualifier between South Africa and Senegal. As Michael Otieje explains, the ban has thrown the spotlight back on the poor standard of refereeing in Ghana.
Referee Joseph Lamte has been given a lifetime by FIFA, the ban confirmed by the Court of Arbitration for Sports yesterday. Now, there's a wider implication of what that decision means. It means that a game between South Africa and Senegal has to be replayed. But beyond that, the decision by FIFA to ban the referee raises major questions about the quality of officiating in the country. There's those suggesting that this should trigger some sort of investigation from the Ghana Football Association, but also those convinced that this sums up the deep extent of the rot within the Ghana game. The Ghana Referees Association have not said anything. In fact, for much of today, referees have refused to address an issue that speaks to their competence and beyond. But it is pretty clear that this is a massive body blow to referees in Ghana. Already, they rarely make international lists. They hardly compete, officiate at international games. This will only add up to the confusion itself. Lamte himself has said very little, but there's been a lot of people digging up what they call his consistent bad decisions and say the GFA must act as soon as possible. Referees in Ghana will reflect on this as a pretty bad week. Overall, a bad week for football. It's a shame that there's a Ghanaian involved at the center of it.
Well, to more stories now, and Ghana international Jordan Ayew is fit to play for club side Swansea City after recovering from the stomach upset that kept him out of Ghana's World Cup qualifier against Congo last Tuesday. Swansea boss Paul Clement says Ayew is in good health, having arrived back in Wales a day after Ghana's 5-1 win over Congo in Brazzaville. Clement expects him to play a key part in the game against Christian Achu's Newcastle United this weekend. Now to a very interesting story, and there's a major change in how things will run next year in the transfer window because Premier League clubs have voted to close next summer's transfer window before the 2018-2019 season starts. Managers have complained that allowing players to move once the season is underway causes disruption to their squads and preparations. From next season, the window will close on the Thursday before the Premier League season begins on the Saturday. The vote was not unanimous, and the clubs will still be able to sell players until the end of the normal window. The window across Europe runs until the 31st of August. Now, there's some transfer news this morning, and Fenerbahce have held talks with Diego Costa's representatives about signing the Chelsea striker on loan. The 28-year-old remains in Brazil and has refused to return to England. The Spain international failed to leave the Premier League champions before transfer deadline day in much of Europe, but the Turkish transfer window does not close until later today. A source close to the negotiations has said a deal with the Turkish side is unlikely, but talks are still ongoing. Costa has been told by Chelsea manager Antonio Conte to find another club. He wanted to return to Atletico Madrid in the summer, but they were not allowed to sign players because of a transfer embargo. They can do so, though, in January. The forward has since been left out of Chelsea's Champions League squad, but has been included in the Premier League squad. To end the sports news here on Midday Live, my name is Yao Fosulabi. There's more sports later when Thierry Nyan joins you on News 360. Also, you can read more sports news on 3news.com. Over to you, Bright.
Yeah, grateful for your time with us. There is more sports, as you said. Time now for entertainment.
Rap king Sarkodie will hold an album signing and an interaction session with his fans on Sunday, September 10, as part of an introduction and promotion of his new album. The 18-track project, which was released today, features artists including Jesse Jaggs, Victoria Kimani, Joey B, and Corride Bello. The BET Award winner said this is his most challenging project yet amongst his 5 albums, and added the content and creativity of the album was inspired by his daughter Adeline Osu-Addo, affectionately called Titi, hence the cover picture of the album. A lot more celebrities have taken to their social media to sympathize with comedian and media personality Efia Schwarzenegger on her nude video circulating on social media, which was allegedly leaked by her estranged husband Lawrence Abrokwa. They have been condemning the act, saying regardless of what transpired between the two, it was wrong for the man to put out such content. Though Efiashwa, as she is called by her fans, says the marriage is over, lawyer Maurice Ampao says until their union is dissolved by the court, it still holds. Meanwhile, Lawrence Abrokwa is facing charges in court.
Bad guys. Soft work.
Now, Nigerian superstar Falz the Bad Guy will be off the limelight for a couple of weeks to heal following a foot injury from which he ended up in surgery. The soft work hitmaker on his Snapchat told his fans not to worry over the minor injury, which will take a bit of time to heal.
Lavish. Foreign girls in my house, I did learn Spanish. And the French girl tell me, show my pet Gladys. I did scope on my let some bread vanish.
That's how we're wrapping up the show for this afternoon. There's more news on News in Brief and later on News 360. But go to 3news.com and you can read more about the stories that we have shared with you. Thanks so much for your time. My name is Bright Manamfo. Have a good afternoon and stay right here on TV3.